Hi, welcome to the show. My name is Jesse Goldberg, and today we're going to talk again. This is like part two with a whole different panel on vinyl records and the resurgence of vinyl records. And you know, vinyl records are the things. You know, here's a 45 case, a Beatles 45 case. You hope I don't drop your record there, Ed. You open it like this, and you put your 45s in here, like this, and then we had a lot of those. And I'm going to steal Ed's record there. And then we had Donnie and Marie cases like this, you know, where you put 45s in, and Batman cases and all this other stuff. And anyway, my guests today are Buck Buchanan, Stuart Von Stein, and Ed Salomon, who told me not to call him Solomon, but Salomon. Anyway, Buck, we'll start with you. Why vinyl? Yes, we have why vinyl. What's going on? You're a fairly young guy, not young compared to.
Just barely out of diapers.
Right.
I've been actually got my.
I'm barely going back into diapers.
I got my start collecting music in a big way in the 90s in the CD era, but initially became interested in vinyl because, sort of like what I heard you say in part one of this show, that it was actually a little bit cheaper than trying to collect CDs when I was trying to just get into a whole bunch of different types of music. But quickly recognized that the experience of listening to records is pretty different from the experience of listening to CDs. They do sound different from CDs. Frequently they sound better than CDs. And I don't know that it's anything inherent in the format, but I think that in a lot of cases, the same recording, when it was mastered for vinyl and then later on mastered for CDs, sounds better on vinyl, not because of something inherent in the format, but because of the decisions that were made when it was mastered and manufactured.
That's a good point. You know, I think some of the records that came out when CDs first came out, and especially the Beatles ones, you know, they didn't sound very good, you know. But the ones they remastered like 4 years ago or something like that, I thought they sounded pretty good. What about you, Stuart?
Well, for me, it's similar. If you listen
You're even younger than him.
Yeah, a little bit. When you listen to like the way jazz sounds, like Art Blakey on a record, it's nothing like hearing it on a CD. The way the drums sound, the way the bass sounds, it sounds like.
Really?
It sounds like you're in the room.
I don't even listen to jazz though.
Wow.
You really believe that? You really like the sound of vinyl?
Right. It's not necessarily the format. It's something about the way that it has to be mastered for that format. The demand of the format. If you have too many highs or peaks and
too much compression.
Yeah.
Right. Compression is the answer, right? What about you, Ed? Now you're the old guy in the group here.
Well, I started collecting rock and roll records on 78s, so that goes back away.
The 18th century.
My parents didn't have a 45 or 33 player, so I bought 78s. But the music that was recorded to be reproduced on phonograph records and through analog machines, and when you deviate from that and take them into the digital world, they're just not as they were intended. Really, nothing beats an old R&B 78 being played on a jukebox with that big heavy bass bottom on it. I mean, that's really what the people who made those records for jukeboxes were intending them to be played on.
Do you have any idea why the speeds are different? And is it the faster the speed, the better the sound? Or, I mean, was 78 supposed to be why did they change speeds? Have any idea?
Well, the speed changed from 78 to 45 to be able to have more compact, less expensive, and more durable product, and 45s and 33s came out at about the same time, and around 1949. And the idea there was the battle of the of 45s over LPs were, do you want, is music to be consumed in terms of singles or in terms of albums? 78s, of course, were singles, but the word album comes from the fact that they were often marketed in albums with many 78s in them, with a few 78s in them. In fact, that number was usually 6, so that when albums came out, they contained 12 cuts, mirroring the number of people, the number of songs on.
So I learned something. I didn't
an
know
album.
that. That's where album. Did you know that? You did know that.
Yes.
Did you know that? Okay, good. So 2 of us learned something. So Buck, what kind of music you like here? What's your favorite type of music?
I can't single out a single type of music. I've got pretty broad taste.
Well, from what I know of you, the kind of music you like is stuff I've never heard of for the most part.
I think I'm at the point in like seeking out records where the things I'm looking for are pretty obscure. So some of the impression you've gotten might come from the fact that the ones that I'm looking for at this point are the ones no one's ever heard of.
Well, what do you listen to?
A lot of jazz, psychedelic rock, weird electronic music, classical music.
That's the right impression I'm getting. That's all weird stuff. You're not like a
Folk
mainstream
rock.
Type guy. Folk rock? Old folk rock?
Yes. What
Like
is old mean?
Paul, like Simon and Garfunkel, that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I like a lot of the British folk rock scene too, but American folk rock's great.
Well, what about you, Stuart?
I mean, everything from the jazz greats like Miles Davis and Coltrane. And,
So you're a jazz guy.
yeah, and rock and roll. Most of my collection is rock and roll records.
Do you play jazz? Do you play music?
I do. I don't play jazz. I don't think I'm skilled enough to
Really?
do
Because
that.
I never got jazz. I never got jazz.
I'm more
I
of a
never got blues.
strum
I
and
never got soul.
pluck.
I got none of that in me. I'm like a mainstream Herman's type of guy. That's pretty bad, isn't it? I'm a Peter, Paul, and Mary type guy.
And Broadway and show tunes.
And Broadway and show tunes. That's right. What happened to me? I got no soul. Anyway.
Were you always into show tunes?
Yeah, my mother used to play them all the time on the stereo.
So nothing happened to you. You just were always that way.
I guess I liked them because of the intricacy of the lyrics. The lyrics were always novel, you know, and novelty stuff always appealed to me. Stuff that was about stuff that was different than just I love you, you love me, you know. And in jazz and blues, the lyrics are like they're not inconsequential for the most part, you know.
Or there
It's
are
mostly
no
music.
vocals at all.
Oh, there are no vocals. That's right. So I guess I'm into this because of the lyrics, you know. But Ed here, I just read the best book I ever read on rock and roll, without a doubt. It was called Me, the Mob, and the Music. And it was written by Tommy James. And Ed wrote some books, too. I forgot to tell you. Ed wrote this book called WHN. Ed is a member of the Radio Hall of Fame or something like that, right?
Yes, the Country Radio Hall of Fame.
Country Radio Hall of Fame, yeah, like a Hall of Fame, like Mickey Mantle or something. Anyway, so what was I talking about? Me, the Mob, and the Music, right? And it was a story of Tommy James and the Shondells, and it was amazing. It was a story about Morris Levy and all that, and it started with Hanky Panky, which I got right here, and I'm going to show it. This is one of Ed's many copies of Hanky Panky. It's a 45, and there it is on Snap Records. And it came, and Tommy James recorded when he was 13, right?
Right.
And somehow he get to dance clubs when he was 16, and all of a sudden he had a hit record.
Right.
And it happened in Pittsburgh, where you're from.
Right.
So you know some of the story.
Well, at the time when that record was being started in Pittsburgh, I myself was DJing at dance clubs. I also had a band that would play at a lot of the disc jockeys' record hops, but I was doing whatever I could to be around the music business, and I knew all of the people involved in the music scene in Pittsburgh. So when the record came out, and what Tommy is most familiar with, when the record came out on
Wait,
Roulette,
you call him Tommy. Because you know the guy. right?
Well, we've known each other for a while.
Oh my gosh, this guy's just got the Country Music Hall of Fame guy, and he knows Tommy James. The book I just read. What do you got there?
The original pressing of
Tommy.
of the record Hanky Panky on Roulette says Bob Mack presents.
Why does it say Bob Mack presents?
Because Bob Mack is the entrepreneur in Pittsburgh who found Tommy and brought him to town and took him to New York and was managing him and helping him get the record deal. So Tommy's point of view is Bob Mack found me, brought me to Pittsburgh, brought me to New York. Bob's the guy, and Bob is the guy in very many ways. But the Pittsburgh record scene was a little more complicated than that. There were a lot of people playing obscure records at dances in Pittsburgh. The thought was that if you had a record that nobody else had, that the kids liked to dance to, the kids would come to your record hop instead of somebody else's. So all of us were looking for records that...
A record hop. People go to put 45s and people start dancing?
That was absolutely,
that was a record hop?
Absolutely it. And there were, and most kids my age, high school age at the time, went to more than one of them a week. They'd be at churches, social clubs, high schools.
Would you bring your own 45s? Or?
No. There would be the disc jockeys, you know, and these disc jockeys would really be the curators of.
But they didn't have. That was before they had all that fancy equipment. You know, records going back and forth.
Well, no, they had two. We always had two turntables.
Really?
We always had two turntables, and basically played 45s from the two turntables. But to get back to this, there were a number of people doing that. I was one of the very least of the people doing that because I didn't have a show on the radio. I was just a kid with two turntables and a great record collection. But there were other guys. There were guys like Bob Livorio. Bob was on a radio station about 30 miles outside of Pittsburgh, WKPA. I talk about this in my book, Pittsburgh's Golden Age of Radio. And Bob believes that he was the first person to play Hanky Panky. He wrote on this album that he had out in 1965, which includes Hanky Panky, and 65 was the year before it became a national hit. What his take on it was, he believes that a college student brought it to one of his dances, and he played it, and that way he was the first to play it.
So this other guy.
There's the other guy, Mad Mike. Mike Metrovich was also on a radio station, WZUM, put that album out also in 1965, the year before Hanky Panky got picked up by Roulette. And the story that he and Bob Mack tell is that a student came in 1965 to their record shop, Tri-State Records, which Mike ran, and Bob was the entrepreneur. He ran the teenage record hops. He ran the record store, but Mike was the guy on the ground floor who was there buying and selling the records. So a guy sold his collection to Tri-State, and Mike and Mac found that record.
And they started playing it, these record hops, and then
right. But meanwhile, Livorio's playing it. Meanwhile, they're playing it. Meanwhile, there's another guy in a suburban station outside of Pittsburgh in McKeesport named Terry Lee, and he likewise finds the record at about the same time. Well, let me tell you, the kids in Pittsburgh thought it was that good of a song. They went wild for it at record hops. And all of us who were trying to do play at record hops went crazy trying to find copies of the single.
The Snap record.
And the first Snap record that I got, and again, I believe these records were probably pressed in Niles, Michigan, and made their way to Pittsburgh. But it's certainly possible they could be bootlegs. Some people think they are. Some people think some of them are, and some of them aren't. But this one has the producer's name on the side of it, and has the address of the record company or under the word Snap.
I wonder how Jeff Barry and Ellie Greenwich felt about it.
This second copy has the does not have the name of the producer on it, and has the address over the
Niles, Michigan.
Now,
it's a lot of weird.
But understand, if you're at Snap Records, you're not pressing a lot of records at one time. You're going out and you're pressing some, and then you sell them and you go out and make some more. So you're going to have label variations. Now, the question is, which one of these are the original? And the answer is neither one of them, because there is a copy of Hanky Panky on Snap that, instead of mentioning Ellie Greenwich and Jeff Barry as the songwriters, they have Tommy Jackson, Tommy James' real name, as the songwriter. Here's another one on the Snap label.
All right, we had enough of the Snap stuff already.
This is one. This is one from Pittsburgh. It says in the bottom, distributed by Red Fox.
Red Fox. In
my opinion, not a bootleg, because a Pittsburgh record company, Red Fox, wouldn't have put their name and address on a record if it was booted. They would have thought that they had the...
Not Red Fox, you know.
They would have...
What's his name? Sanford and Son, Red Fox.
No, they would have thought that they had the permission to do that. Otherwise, they wouldn't have put the name and address on it.
The moral of the story is that there's a lot of different variations of it. But we have to go into this. What Buck's got here. What do you got here, Buck?
I was planning to show a bunch of label variations.
Okay.
no kidding. Of the Blue Note label. It's just something that I have found useful in looking for jazz records.
Okay,
but maybe it's too boring for you.
Yeah, maybe it is. Let's go on to. Are these all the records you brought?
Yeah. So okay, I have a bunch of Blue Note records.
Let's show some of these records.
But it's the labels on the backside that are actually what I brought them.
Well, let's just show the records anyway.
Okay.
Now this is stuff Grant Green.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a guitarist.
This is.
That's also Grant Green.
Grant Green.
Now that record's odd because this is not what the original cover of this record looked like. But they reissued it in the late '60s with an acoustic guitar, which is not what he played.
Who cares about this stuff, though? I mean, does somebody care about
Clearly
this?
not me.
No, somebody. Who cares about all these different label variations? What's this? Whoops, sorry, I'm messing up your records.
That is Herbie Hancock.
Herbie Hancock. So this is all jazz stuff.
Yeah, that's a
Blue Note jazz. It's the original Blue Note or a reissue Blue Note?
That's not a. That's a mid-'60s pressing. It's an early '60s album, so it's not the first pressing.
Okay, what's this Dion and the Belmonts thing you got here? I like Dion.
Yeah, so that's a record that was surprising.
Oh, you got the Time Out of Mind Dylan thing? You were looking for that.
Yeah. So
you finally found it?
Finally found it.
Wow.
Oh, I caved in and bought it on eBay.
Nobody has this. This is a Dylan record that's usually only on CD, right?
It came out in the U.S. and Europe on vinyl in '97. It's just there were so few copies pressed.
They weren't making vinyl in '97 too much. I mean,
not very much, right? That's why it's hard to find.
They left it for dead. And what's this Dion and the Belmont thing?
That's a surprisingly hard to find record. It's the 1967 comeback album for Dion and the Belmonts. It's called
really?
Together
After
Again. It
Abraham
looks sort of like a greatest hits collection. It's the same sort of typeface. But it's a really good record.
It's got a John Denver song on here. Mm-hmm. You see that? For Bobby by H.J. Jutendorf. Did you know that?
I didn't.
That was his real name. See, I know that because I'm a Peter Paul and Mary fan. Okay, let's see what you got here, Stuart.
These are all, let's see. These are all records.
Variations. Let me hold them up.
There we go. These are all records that were pressed in Nashville by.
Oh, really? So this is new
by
stuff.
friends of mine. So.
You have friends?
Yeah.
All right, let's go through them. Who are these guys?
Those are some friends of mine from Murfreesboro.
Really? What's the name of the group?
It's just a compilation they put together of a bunch of different bands.
So it's called Friends of Stuart?
I don't know.
No?
I don't think it's called that. I can't remember.
I was kidding. Okay.
But are these recent albums?
These are all
recent.
Yeah, these are all like within the last 5 years.
What's this one?
Hands Off Cuba.
Hands Off Cuba, and that's people you know? These are all people you know.
And then that's an old record. That's not
Steve
from the
Moore's
last
first?
R. Stevie Moore, Phonography. It's a great record.
Phonography.
That
What
was
do you got?
recorded.
So you're into this new stuff, Stuart.
Yeah. Well, just to say that people are making records, even now.
Yeah, they are making records.
And anyone can do it, in fact.
Costs a lot more, though. I looked into it. You know, to make like 300 copies would cost me like $1,500, or like $5 a piece, and to make it, you know, it's a lot, very expensive.
Well, if you believe in what you're doing, though.
Yeah, but you want it. I was going through the thing. You know, I have this play called "It's a Rough Life," right? And I was thinking about
Right, the
pressing
famous play.
vinyl. I was thinking about pressing vinyl, right?
Uh-huh.
And I thought about it. I said, you know, it costs so much. You can sell maybe the records for $20 a piece, but how many do I have to sell in order to get my money back? And am I doing the right thing? Why am I pressing vinyl? Why am I going backwards? You know, why am I doing that? And then I said, should I? I'm still up in the air whether I should do it or not. And I could be in this pile of Stuart's friends who press vinyl and nobody ever heard of.
There's a record.
Is this upside down?
No, it's Deluxe's album, Black or White.
Who were they?
Really close friend of mine.
Really?
Yeah.
You got a lot of close friends. I don't have any friends. What's this?
This is Chris Crofton and the Alcohol Stunt Band. Thelma Lena.
Another friend of yours?
Yeah. Also pressed right here in Nashville.
This
Now
was
flip
like
that one over. That's got a great cover.
This is the cover. I don't know
See? No, there we go.
that. Okay.
So that's a painting by the artist on the album, Peggy Snow. And she goes around Nashville and paints buildings before they're about to be demolished.
Well, that seems pretty stupid. The paint's
Well-
going to get destroyed.
No, the building is destroyed now, but that painting lasts.
All right. All
And
right.
then there's my record.
You have a record?
Yeah.
Bad Friend?
Yeah, flip it over.
Let It Go? This is your
That's
record?
what I say. Let it go. Yeah.
Is that really your record?
Yeah, that's my record.
Is it? Let me see what it looks like inside.
It's sold out.
This is Stuart's record. First time on national
Those
television.
are the last 2 copies.
Are you
available.
serious? How many did you make?
100. So not
You
very
didn't really
many.
splurge on the label here.
Well, it's all handcrafted.
Look at this. Stuart's record. Bad Friend, Let It Go. Maybe it could be the next Hanky Panky. You never know. See how you handle records like that? Anyway, Ed, let's see what you brought over there.
Well,
This is like show and tell in school. Remember that?
And
You got a
not-
poster with this. You got an insert with it.
Yeah. Get your
Wow.
money's worth.
You get your money's worth.
just
a
to
show and tell,
continue
yeah.
to riff on the topic again, I mean, even Taylor Swift is
I
putting her
sold these on
record.
eBay for $39.
We're putting her work out on.
I know it's red vinyl too.
On
Hold on a
vinyl.
second.
It's
this is red. I don't want to open it, but
yeah.
you realize that people are buying this because of this cover. That having this cover with the promo cover is worth $20. Makes it worth $20 more. Did you
yeah,
know
that's
that?
why I don't want you to destroy it.
No,
open
I am
it.
destroying it. You better take it
That's-
over
that's
here.
it.
All right, what do you got
And
there?
you know, Lady Antebellum,
Yeah.
big country act.
I sold about 10 of these. I did. I sold about 10 of these, but the market fell out on them. I don't know.
And
what
Chuck Mead, of course, who's was with the group BR549 and is a big fan of vinyl and retro music and record collector himself. So he puts his stuff out on vinyl and should have an album out on Plowboy fairly soon.
So get the bottom line here is what's your opinion? Is vinyl here to stay? Is this just a fad or what?
I have to imagine that its popularity will wane at some point. I don't know that it will wane any more than it has already waned in the recent
It was
past.
dead. It was dead a while ago.
Well, it was never really dead, I don't think. So I don't think it'll ever become less popular than the depth of its popularity during the 90s.
Right.
But
There's a whole wealth of music, recorded music from the early 20th century to now that is good stuff that people ignore and that people
or have completely forgotten about.
Right. Right.
Well, there'll be a wealth of music that'll never be out, available on CD, and perhaps it will be available in the digital space at some point, since that's less expensive to do. But probably a lot of things that nobody will ever bother with, and that's sort of the fun thing, the obscure stuff that I think all of us collectors look for. That isn't readily available. It's that, and then for a lot of us, it's the artifact too, to be able to have the music in the form that it was originally intended to be consumed. And that's just of some kind of a value or interest beyond the music itself.
Right. Personally, I have a problem. I have about 8,000 records, and they're stacked in boxes. I can't even get to them. So I mean, I gotta
build shelves.
You have a bigger house than I do. So I've been into your house. You have nice. You have everything displayed. Now you can find it. If I said, Ed, find me this record, you can find that record. Can you do that?
No.
You can't find your records?
Well, my ability to do that waxes and wanes.
Waxes and wanes. See, that's a
pun.
That's a pun. How about you, Stuart?
Yeah, definitely.
You can't find it, or you can't find it?
I can.
You can find it. See, I can't find anything. I can find what's in the first row, and I got to get on the ladder to do that.
They might have too many.
I have too many. That's right.
You should sell it to one of us.
I will. But we got to go. But before we go, I want to show the record that I did here. Right? See, I have to show this. Right? I had one song on this record. It's my whole vinyl career. Oh, I had a single too. I should show my single. Let's make this all about me. Forget about you. Here's some singles. Before we go, here's some singles with some picture sleeves. Here's a Beatles one. She Loves You. Here's Yesterday and Today. Yesterday, and I can't. Just yesterday. I can't find my other one. Anyway, we got to get going. My guests have been Buck Buchanan, the
Stuart Von
Stein, and Ed Salomon. And we'll be back next week for another edition of the show.